Welcome to Reflections, presented by the Outreach Committee of Paducah Cooperative Ministry. Our current series of programs is focusing on missions and mission work. Today we're going to be talking about screaming fans, good music, and killer Mick Jagger moves. Our guest today is Craig Felker from the West Kentucky band Hearts of Saints. I want to start off today learning a little bit about Craig. You grew up in this area, Craig. Tell us just a little bit about your background, your personal background, so forth and so on.
Well, believe it or not, I didn't. My background doesn't involve Mick Jagger, but I love that intro. That was awesome.
We're going to show the killer Mick Jagger moves later.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in this area. In fact, was a TV major at this school. Thought I wanted to go to college and pursue a degree being a sports announcer, being the next Dick Vitale and covering Kentucky basketball games. And kind of that changed very quickly. Music became my passion. I just met Jesus, really, and just felt called to let people know that there was music that was positive, that was not lame, that was quote-unquote Christian. And so I went to Nashville, got my degree in the music recording industry business, and lived in Nashville, did that for a while, and then moved back 5 years ago to Kentucky as the band started to progress, and we started to travel more and wanted to be with family. And so here I am, and still doing the band thing and loving it.
Well, that's a good segue. You brought up the family. Tell me about are you married, so forth and so on?
A beautiful wife of 6 years, Miss Stephanie Felker.
I've met and have come to know Stephanie, and she's a wonderful woman, and I probably imagine that her family thinks you married up, right?
Well, most people would say that. I was in New York last week, and this guy who's he's a very loud man, let's say that. And he met my wife for the first time, and he was quite complimentary of my wife and not so complimentary of me.
I'm not surprised at all by that.
No, she's awesome, and if not for her, I don't get to do this.
And that's great. That's great.
She's been a part of it all. I mean, our first date, she went with me to really kind of our first gig, my first gig 9 years ago. And pretty much our entire marriage has been her being a part of what the band is now. Well, we've been in this band for about 5 years, and our whole marriage, that's all she's known. So without her approval and her thumbs up and her allowing her time that I could be with her, she allows me to go and do the band thing. And now she's traveling with us. So
that's great.
She's unemployed and traveling with us, so
well,
it's a beautiful thing.
We keep mentioning the band, and I don't think we should go any further without you. You are the front man, the singer, correct? And I think we need to give
depending on what you think of the front man and the singer.
Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
I think we need to give some credit and identity to the rest of the band. Tell us about your band mates.
Well, the other guys, I've known brothers for really like the last 6 years, but it's really no coincidence. I mean, it's funny how people, God puts people in your lives and relationships happen, but I met Jason 9 years ago while I was at school at MTSU pursuing my music business degree, and I was playing with a guy, just kind of an acoustic thing, and he saw we needed a drummer and jumped on board.
Last name?
Killebrew, Jason Killebrew from Hopkinsville. We played for a few years, and then he brought LJ Grandstaff from Princeton into the picture, and LJ introduced us to Joe Purdy.
And LJ does what?
For a living?
No, as in the band.
Oh, he plays guitar.
Guitar player.
He plays guitar, and then Joel plays bass, and LJ introduced us to Joel.
And Joel's last name?
Purdy.
Purdy.
P-U-R-D-Y, and he is quite purdy.
Excellent, excellent. So it's Western, basically a Western Kentucky.
We're all Western
lineup.
Kentucky boys. We've been this band with these four guys for 5 years.
Great.
And kind of started out under the name Special D, and then 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we switched the name to Hearts of Saints.
And we're going to get to that later also, but I think, didn't you run into conflict with a an English rapper, was it, or a European rapper that was using Special D, and so you had to repackage the band?
You know, one thing I would advise anybody who's starting a band, do a Google search. Make sure you're the only one who has that name. But this guy came about the time we named ourselves Special D. Long story short, he had a huge hit in Europe, and it was really pretty filthy, inappropriate stuff.
Right.
Right. Like
Something
really, really bad stuff. Not just like, I mean, bad.
And you certainly didn't want.
We didn't want that. We actually a few times almost lost certain gigs at festivals because one time our manager got a call from a festival in South Dakota, and they said, "I just don't think the Special D is the kind of music we want. We're really not into the techno, you know."
Right.
And the content might not be. And so, long story short, we didn't want the confusion.
Yeah.
Wanted to separate ourselves and also potentially avoid a lawsuit.
Exactly.
And so we changed it the first of last year, 2009, and I don't know, it was the best move we could have made. It was a financial burden because when you've got thousands of dollars in merch and branding that you've done for 3.5, 4 years, it was really a decision that we made that wasn't, it was the best interest of the band because the name has really become a mission statement, but it financially was not a good move at the time. And that's tough when you have to make decisions that are really kind of heart conditions, and you know, we could have kept going, maybe not have gotten a lawsuit, but I mean, it just wasn't the thing. It was not.
Wasn't the identity.
No, and we didn't want to be misrepresented.
And we're gonna talk probably at length about your musical philosophy and identity. But first, earlier, when you were introducing yourself, you said you were on a track and you met Jesus. Mm-hmm. Go tell us a little bit about your faith journey.
Sure.
How you came. Some people, I grew up in the Presbyterian Church, have been there my whole life. Just is that how your faith journey went in a traditional setting, or the Met Jesus thing piqued my interest?
Yes and no. I grew up. I mean, I was very blessed. My family, every time the church doors were open when we were young, that's where I was. Kind of got away from that until high school.
I think that's very common.
Yeah, and I don't know. I yearned for. I think we all yearn for, you know, knowledge of a higher power, or you know. And for me, so I ended up back in youth group, and man, I looked like a believer of Jesus. I mean, could say and talk and do the dance, but really didn't have my experience in really meeting Him until my first year of college, and that's what kind of set my course differently. But it's funny. I was talking a couple of days before to a guy about what God would look like, and I told him, I just simply told my friend, I said, we can't know what God would look like. And one night it was 2 in the morning, and for an hour I tossed and turned, and Ezekiel was in my head, Ezekiel. And I had a Bible, but I mean, I had been to church, and I would go and could talk the talk, but I didn't really have any sort of relationship with God, and didn't know what that even meant. And I finally just get up, I find my Bible, which was really, dusty. It was literally dusty. I opened to Ezekiel, and I had never read Ezekiel. I mean, Ezekiel's not a word. You don't just sit here or think, why would I have Ezekiel in my head? I turned to it, and it's Ezekiel 1 is his vision of what God looked like. And so, it's one of those moments like, this is a coincidence? Is this something? What is this? I read through all of chapter 1, and I'm freaking out. I'm on my floor at 2, 3 in the morning, just freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I just talked about this. Is God talking to me? Chapter 2 says, "Son of man, stand on your feet, for I'm speaking to you."
Oh, my.
And for the first time in my life, I felt like the Creator of the universe. I knew He was talking directly to me, and I haven't been the same since.
That's great story.
And I don't have it all figured out, and still trying to figure that out every day. But I had coffee with someone this morning, and I guess my life mission is to let people know that Jesus isn't always what the church portrays him as.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just want them to know that that He is love, He is grace, He is mercy.
Right.
And sometimes the people who have been extended the most grace and the mercy are some of the people that hoard that, you know, keep
Right.
that to themselves more than anybody.
Right.
And I don't mean to blast the church in any way, shape, or form, because there's so many great things that church, even locally, that the church is doing. But sometimes people confuse God. I heard Rob Bell say this one time. He said, great pastor, he said, sometimes people confuse God and religion and walk away from both.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. And it's kind of my life mission to be a Christ follower and to let people know what that's like. And I'm still figuring it out every day.
Yeah. People who have all the answers are.
Be weary of them.
Exactly.
Because they're not God.
Well, this takes us back to Special D and Hearts of Saints. Tell us a little about the group, and I'm sure it was a very thoughtful process. Tell us about the name, Hearts of Saints.
Well, in Philemon 1:4, Paul is writing, actually encouraging Philemon, because his actual wording is, I'm encouraged by you by your kindness and faith, because you've refreshed the hearts of the saints.
Oh.
So our name has gone from meaning nothing, a special D, to
Right.
a mission statement. We hope that our music is something that is inspiring. We hope that it's thought-provoking, that it just refreshes and encourages and brings hope to the saints, which would be anybody who knows Jesus,
Right.
and to people who don't know Jesus. I hope that, I mean, we've always said this, we want to be a great band because we're good, not a good band because we're Christian.
Right.
And we hope that our music, you know, we play a lot of festivals that are Christian festivals, and we do a lot of church things, but we hope and we play a lot of things that are just music things, that that are just quote unquote secular. I mean, we want to be good because we're good, and if we're good because we're good, then ears might be more receptive to what the message is. And the message is that we're flawed human beings. We're trying to figure this thing out, but we love Jesus because He loved us.
Fabulous.
And that's it.
Are you able to speak to people just because of the name? It's an interesting name. Do people want to know why Hearts of Saints? You know, I think some bands use things that clearly identify maybe scripture snippets,
Yeah.
words from a verse or chapter or something. Do you find people wondering, what is Hearts of Saints? How did you come to that?
Yeah, a lot of people, especially people who knew us before, how they want to know, you guys used to be Special D, you know. I mean, just like last week we did a big festival, we hadn't played in a few years, and we were back there as Hearts of Saints, and several people just didn't know the transition. So you get that a lot. One of my good friends who writes for the Chicago Tribune tried to convince me when we were doing it. He goes, why don't you go Hearts and Saints? Because that has more of an ability to cross, you know, not crossover, I hate that word, but has more of you could kind of be both things. And I loved his point, and in a lot of ways I agree with it, but that's where the heart of it came from. It's Hearts of Saints because of the message. And we wanted something that just didn't just sound good, but meant something. And for us, we had a name that just didn't mean anything, and we
Right.
thought it sounded like junk too. We hated
Exactly.
Special D as a name, but we were stuck with it because we had done so much, you know. We wanted something that became kind of our calling card, you know,
Right.
for us as the band. You know what? If we don't know what we're about, our name is the direct, clear indication
Yes.
of what we're about.
Exactly.
And-
People hear a name, and right or wrong, they think something about it and so forth. So
Yep.
it's something that you have to be able to stand behind and feel good about.
Yeah, and I think for the first time, you know, ever, I mean, we feel great about the name. It's who we are, it's who we want to be, it's who we strive to be, and what we're striving to do.
Exactly.
And hopefully, you know, I hate labels. You know, yes, we're four guys who love Jesus, and we're all four. We are following Him, and we're a Christian band. But we hope that, especially like you come to a show here locally or in the Western Kentucky area, the front two rows are going to look. They might not look like we have people who just aren't in church that are at our shows, and I love that. And that's
Right.
fantastic.
Right.
I hope that our shows continue to be a mixture of just, people from all walks.
Well, I've got so much I want to talk about, and I'm trying to keep things cataloged into my head to come back to. And I guess next, let's go to your, because you've brought up the people, your audience, the people, the fans, whatever you want to call them. Mission. You have a band, and it is a band, and it's about music.
Yep.
Let's talk about mission through the music, other ways that you see the band as a mission, but we definitely want to talk about the music.
Yeah.
Let's go there, and then we'll come back and maybe talk about how you see yourself as speaking for Christ, reaching out Christ. So let's talk about the music first.
That scares me. I don't want to thinking about speaking for him.
But that shouldn't scare you as much as having to do your Mick Jagger move before the show's over.
No, I think that a guy in New York last week said this best. He said that if your music isn't telling who you are, what you're about, and your songs the lyrics, aren't speaking to people, then you're not writing good enough songs. When we get done playing a set, I should have never had to let anyone know that I think Jesus is a hope and His love and His grace. I mean, that's just going to pour out through what we're doing. Yeah, we do that quite a bit. I'm a talker. In case you can't
I'm
tell
just
that.
starting to pick up on that.
I'm going to talk about the relationship I have with Jesus. I just think we're supposed to do that. But I'm also, when we're playing shows, people aren't bringing us in. If they wanted a speaker, they would hire me as a speaker or hire somebody else. Usually we do things and they're speakers, or we're just a show. And I want to make sure that people walk away knowing that Jesus is the reason we do what we do. And so I make sure that's articulated. But at the same time, we have a couple things. When we're writing songs, it needs to either move you physically, or it needs to speak to you internally. And if I can do both, if we can write songs that are kind of can do both, it's what we're trying to do.
Speaking of that, I believe we have a clip in which you talk about a song that you wrote, Recapture Me.
Sure.
Okay, I think we're going to go to that clip now.
I confess my heart.
Recapture Me was actually written spontaneously while we were leading worship at my home church. And these lyrics just kind of popped in my head, and I just started to sing, "Set my heart on fire, God, set my heart on fire and recapture me." And I can't explain it, but it resonated with the crowd that day. And for the next few weeks, it just continued to just resonate with me because it was real. It was where my heart was at that moment. I really just wanted desperately for God to invigorate my soul and reignite that passion that I remember once having. And so I wrote the verse and the second verse around the chorus and took it to Michael Farron, the lead singer of Pocket Full of Rocks, and he helped me finish and complete the song. And to me, this song is the most passionate, just raw emotional song on the album. I love the first line in the verse. It says, I confess my heart. And that was really how that song was written, just out of a confession to God that I want to have a better relationship with Him.
How sweetly
That's great. That's great insight there, Craig. Tell me a little bit about how a song for Hearts of Saints comes to be. Is it a collab? Do you have a songwriter? Does one person write the songs and lyrics and others do music, or is it a completely collaborative effort?
No, we all generally try to steal other people's ideas and then come to the table. No, it's different. I mean, that song "Recapture Me," LJ and I were leading worship with another guy, and that chorus just kind of spontaneously happened in an instrumental moment. God, set my heart on fire, set my heart on fire. And my wife, a couple weeks later, who's the ultimate cynic, critic, she's just truth for me because I write a lot of crap.
And you're good at it.
Yeah, I'm good at that. But she encouraged me and said, "Hey, there's something there." And
now the title "Recapture Me" came out of a worship experience.
yeah, I mean that whole song came out of just a spontaneous moment, and that happens with songs. I mean, some of the best songs I think on our album right now are. There's a couple songs that were written in 15 minutes. They just boom poured out and they came. And there are other songs that that you've held on to for a year or two. I typically write all 98% of the lyrics.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
What is the process?
I write a bunch of music. I'm not a great musician. I mean, I play guitar enough to be dangerous, but I have an ear for it, I think, and. So I write a lot of them. I mean, I write most of the melodies, lyrics, bring it to real musicians, LJ, Jason, and Joel, and they turn my attempt at musical genius, and I think they do a pretty good job forming that. And then my melodies might adjust according to what they've got going on.
Right.
And sometimes you Frankenstein things. Sometimes it's like, man, you know what? That bridge was awesome that we wrote. The rest of that song was terrible, but I really like what we're doing over here. Maybe if we just...
So everybody, it's a collaborative effort, but a lot of the lyrics just come from you and songwriting.
Unless they're bad lyrics, and then the guys are like, "That's a terrible lyric. You need to change that." And how about you use this?
You mentioned earlier that music is your passion, Christ is your passion,
Yeah.
but also music, and mine also. I love music, and great songwriting has always fascinated me. And I know we're running towards the end of the show here, but no rhyme or reason to inspiration for lyrics. It may come from sitting down with your Bible. It may come from a daily experience. It may come from worship.
Sometimes, I mean, it happens, and when it happens, modern technology is a beautiful thing that you can capture it very easily now. A lot of our stuff is biblically, Recapture Me, some of the verses are direct things from Psalms where, David says a lot, listen to my plea. So yeah, there's definitely, biblical things in some of the songs. Some of the songs are just, nothing else on the record is a song about just being busy and not having time to focus on anything.
Right.
And so,
right.
Some of the songs are not more Christian than others, but I mean, it's all from the perspective of someone who loves Jesus. So, what is a Christian song?
This time has flown by and we are running short. Give me, I'm going to say 30 seconds or so. What would there are a lot of people that are going to watch this on Paducah 2. A lot of people watch Paducah 2 and they see the reflection. They come to a Hearts of Saints show. What would they see and hear? Musically, I mean, is it like Recapture Me?
Well,
is
no,
it
I mean
Peter, Paul, and Mary reborn.
No, man, we're a rock band. I mean, we are electronic pop rock band.
Hence the Mick Jagger move.
Hence the Jagger. I mean, we love bands that not only write great songs and great melodies and stuff you can sing along with and sticks in your head, but bands that put on a show. And so we. You're going to see us all in the ties. I mean, we feel like we're a live band. And so that's where we got our start. I mean, we love performing. We love that aspect. So you're going to see a lot of energy. You're going to see a very mixed crowd.
With a message.
Yeah,
I mean, every song somebody can, most of the time.
My lady who cuts my hair yesterday said, what I love about, somebody cut my hair, that's right. She said, what I love about you guys And I never talked to her about like the band or anything. So, and she's like, what I love about the band, I went to the website, and he goes, what I love about it is that it's very obvious what you guys are about, and you're not throwing it down anybody's throats.
And I think that's very important.
We're trying to live life, man. Just live life, and we shouldn't have to, you know, there's a great saying I always go back to, but preach the gospel to the entire world, and if necessary, use words.
That's great.
And we're just trying to live life, trying to be a great band, and we love Jesus, and so that's going to just drip from everything we do.
And that's so important. We've been talking to Craig Felker from the West Kentucky band Hearts of Saints. We hope we'll have some graphics up at the end where your music can be purchased.
Yeah, it's in stores now.
Appreciate you coming in and telling us about a rock band as a manner of mission. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, buddy.